Good morning, everybody. Big Thursday. Krystal, what's going on?
Well, in the wake of the marathon testimony of Robert Mueller yesterday, I think we are left to ponder one question. What did we just watch? We'll get into that and more today on Rising. I have my own version of the similar tale. So after watching 7 hours of a spectacle that felt much more cruel than enlightening, I can no longer avoid pondering a question which honestly gives me no joy to ponder. Just how much damage has MSNBC in particular done to the left? Now, this critique is not meant to be personal to the anchors and the commentators there, many of whom I know, some of whom are actually close friends, having worked at that network for 5 years, but nearly all of whom got swept up in the ratings bubble that was feverish Russian conspiracy theories. At MSNBC, as in all things, systems and incentives are far more important for analyzing any particular situation than individual personalities. However, I dare to say, some talent did drink more deeply of the Russia conspiracy waters than others. Rachel Maddow, you've got some explaining to do. Now look, I am not like a Glenn Greenwald who thinks this was all ridiculous and that the Trump campaign did nothing nefarious vis-a-vis Russia. The president's team clearly sought to work with Russia. They used Russian illegal activity to their own benefit, and then they lied about the whole mess to try to cover it up. Those are the facts, and it is a damning set of facts. But it does not feel like a damning set of facts when for months MSNBC built segment after segment, show after show on building anticipation for a big reveal when we would learn the true depths of Trump's fealty and direct conspiracy with Putin. In some of the most fevered speculation, primetime shows actually invited Jonathan Chait on to lay out his wild theory that Trump had actually been a Russian asset since 1987. Chait starts out his analysis, I watched this back last night, by acknowledging that Trump, as multi-decade-long Russian asset, is, quote, probably not true, but it might be. Characters like conspiracy gadfly Louise Mensch were invited on. Mensch, through her Twitter account, often, quote-unquote, reported things like the notion that Steve Bannon was getting the death penalty for espionage. They had this person on MSNBC. Seriously, this is not journalism. It is InfoWars conspiracy theory. Now, CNN and many other outlets are also clearly not blameless in this hype machine. And the Democratic Party was plenty happy to engage in this speculation, as well, as Sagar just pointed out. Individual members clearly loved that sweet cable news spotlight, but I single out my former employer in particular, in part because they were certainly the worst mainstream offenders, and also to dispel this public perception that MSNBC is on Team D in the same way that Fox News is on Team R. They're not. Look, like most corporate entities, MSNBC is a die-hard member of the Green Party, and I'm obviously not talking about climate change here. Russia conspiracy was great for ratings among the key demographic of empty nesters on the coast with too much time on their hands. Consider this whole setup has done more damage to the Democrats' chances of winning back the White House than anything that Trump could ever have dreamed up. Think of the time and the journalistic resources that could have been devoted to stories, I don't know, that a broad swath of people might actually care about. Healthcare, wages, the teachers' movement, whether we're going to war with Iran. I'm just spitballing here. I actually heard some pundit on Chris Hayes last night opine that independent women in middle America were going to be swayed by what Mueller said yesterday. Are you kidding me? This is almost as bonkers and lacking in factual basis as that time that Mimi Rocah said Bernie Sanders was not pro-woman because that was what her feelings told her. Rocah, by the way, a former federal prosecutor with no political background, is only opining at MSNBC because of her role in leading viewers to think that any day now SDNY is going to bring down Trump and his entire family. Now, most of the wild conspiracy theorizing fell apart when the Mueller report was released, but one key element of the storyline remained. Mueller, the hero. The white knight who would come riding in at the last moment to convince those independent middle America women that Trump was the crook and the scoundrel that we said all along. Needless to say, the white knight rides no more. Of course, in many ways, Trump really is the crook that we said all along. But by trying to make this spectacular case, we set the bar unimaginably high and made Trump's actual corruption, broken promises, and casual cruelty seem ordinary by comparison. Now please, as I said before, can we move the heck on? And Sagar, if there's one positive to all of this, it's that it has so crashed onto the rocks that I think we may actually move on now.
So I'm still giggling because I forgot about the KGB 1987 plot that Jonathan. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. No, I remember it. Yeah, I remember.
What if Trump was we've never imagined the worst possible. Like, how is that journalism?
Yeah, I've watched this with so much annoyance for 2 years, and I mean, look, you can tell I'm gleeful to watch these people's careers and hopes just destroyed on the rocks, because it's great to watch people with hubris fall.
But they're not going to fall, is the thing. Like, it's not like there's going to be any accountability. It worked for as long as it worked, and now they'll move on to something else. They'll all remain on cable, and Wits and Lawfare and all these people will continue cranking out these ridiculous pieces. But we all know, and that helps. I do think Luis Mensch will probably go away.
All right.
In that one case. Next on Rising. After months of waiting, as we've been discussing, Mueller has spoken. The ball does not seem to have moved any further for either side.
Washington Democratic Congressman and Intelligence Committee member Denny Heck tells us what he took away from yesterday's testimonies when Rising continues.